Hey, welcome to Dream Aloud with Kendra. It's a podcast for Black women who want to live limitless lives. Be inspired by others who have dared to step outside of their comfort zone to live their hopes and dreams and passions. Now let's get started because life is way too short not to live the way that you want.
Hello, everybody. It's Kendra back again with my Dream Aloud series entitled, you know what it's called, Phenomenal Women Who Pivot. So it's a Dare to Pivot series on second acts. And my phenomenal woman of today is Miss Sherry C. White. I met Sherry about 2017, right? And we were accountability partners. And Sherry is an educator. She's a former scholar athlete and she loves God. And so we were working together, working on our plans on what we wanted to do for our business. And Sherry is definitely about business. And so she was telling me, you have skills, your technology skills, your leadership skills. You should be mentoring other women in that field. They would love to have you as a mentor. And I was thinking, yeah, I kind of do a little bit of that. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I was running my community learning initiative and teaching young people how to code, but I wasn't ready to do live videos, as she was saying. Go ahead and do some live videos. Go ahead and do this. And I was like, no, I'm a private person. I don't want people in my business. I don't want to be seen all the time. I just like to be in the background. And so here I am 4 years later, well, almost 4 years later, which I should have done. I should have followed my accountability partner's advice back then, but at least I did get started. And that's why I'm such a stickler for people to get started, because you can't get better until you get started. And so when someone brings you a word and it hits your spirit, you actually should just move on it. And God doesn't put your mail in anybody else's box unless you're not reading it. So then she came along to tell me what I already knew. So I'm glad that I moved forward. And so I just want to bring Sherry in and have her tell you about some of her pivots and how phenomenal she is, the promptings that she follows, and she just moves. She makes a pivot, 90 degrees, 45, whatever it is, so that she can get to her goal. So welcome, Sherry. Glad
Thank
to
you
have
for
you.
having me. Thank you. I do want to say something that you just said.
Go.
I love the whole 90-degree move, 45-degree. It doesn't matter as long as you move on. And that is kind of like a pillar of mine is just like execute. But there's a lot of other things we could talk about before execution.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the one thing. We're sitting around, we're waiting for perfect, and perfect never comes. So the perfection paralysis just keeps us from being great, and we're already ready to
Right.
move forward. So tell us how you started out as a scholar athlete.
Mm.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so long time ago, I remember my parents actually listening to me. I didn't have friends on my block, and my dad ran track, and he's an athletic guy, and so was my mother. So they decided, hey, let's do some kind of sports. And so my dad decided, hey, try track. And I had some talent, and I went ahead and just pursued that, and it turned into so many opportunities, so many.
So your dad is the one who gave you the running, the track skills.
My dad, and I have to say my mother, gave me a lot of the strategy. She was a basketball player. She gave me a lot of strategy. I was a middle distance runner. And with that, you have to endure and have a lot of strategy in your race.
So both of your parents are athletes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you took that with your scholarship and went to Rutgers University. From right. There, where did you go?
From there, it was an adventure indeed. I started to pursue urban and regional planning. That was my first career. And I always knew in the back of my head, education was something that was interesting too, but I wanted to pursue an adventure. And so I did that, and I did what I wanted to do. When I got down to Maryland, that's where I was working as a, in that field. When I got down there, I realized this is not exactly what I had in mind. See, I love building community. I love everything about it. And I was working with economic development aspect of urban planning. Interesting, but I was bored. I was bored. And I remember being in Uncle Steve's condo, and I had a come to Jesus moment. I had a real come to Jesus moment. I said, Lord, I did what I wanted to do. I did it my way. Show me my purpose, because this doesn't feel right. And I remember, he told me, not a lot, but there was something he told me to do, and I realized I couldn't stay in Maryland. So I'm really thankful for that opportunity for adventure. And then I'm really grateful that I just said, let me go ahead and pray and listen. And once I listened, then I got the next move. You said the 45, 90 degree, I moved, and I didn't know a whole lot, but I did move after I listened. So after I listened, a whole lot more adventures, but I knew for a fact I was supposed to be in education. And so that's where I ended up. That's where I'm at.
You felt it in your soul, or you just once you started doing it, you felt like, this is where I belong?
Two real reasons for why. Number one, while I was working in that field of urban planning in Baltimore, there were some things I was doing in the field and some work I was doing with Urban League in Baltimore that gave me more of a one-on-one or working with people. And I really enjoy explaining programs that would benefit renters. I like that. And I started to understand what was going on with folks, how to meet their need and understanding the programs. So that was one. A second was a trip to Ghana. I went to Kumasi and Accra. We went to some schools, and when I got there and I got with the kids, and the kids were so on fire to learn. And I just love that. And something sparked inside of me working along seasoned educators, Ghanaian educators, that I just said, yeah, this is it. So there were a couple of reasons. And then the third would be just everything went seamlessly when I applied for a teaching fellowship program. Everything, soup to nuts, went well. So I say, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. And I love it. I really do love the young people.
And you still teach now, right?
I still teach now. I have taught from elementary school to university students, and particularly student athletes at the university students. Yep.
So what do you say to these parents now? Like you said, when you were in Ghana, the children had a love for education. What do you say to parents now? What do they need to make sure that their children have a love for education? That I think education is the currency that we need to do whatever. Money is good, but if you have education, the right type of education.
If you have the right type of education, but if you have, you said like the value system to appreciate, and even if something's in front of whatever you have, to question it, to read, to study, to question, that all of that is really healthy. But what I tell parents, there's a saying, and I hope I get it right, where it talks about, give your kids what you didn't have. Instead of that, it's teach your kids what you didn't have. And I think a lot of times people do not share the pitfalls. They don't share the ugly parts. And, I don't know why. People have their different reasons. But if we start doing that, if we start sharing the pitfalls, the ugly transitions, or the I wish I would have, and then tie it back to what education can do, I think that would allow a student to sit in a seat and say, oh, I have an opportunity here. I may not like this teacher. I may not like this school, but there's still an opportunity.
So let's talk about the wish I should have, could have. You're not one of those people. So what are you doing now in addition to teaching?
Okay, so I'm always teaching, just in different capacities, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing that I'm doing now, I'm coaching women, the super busy women, these super women, if you will, but these are really women of influence, whether they're moms, whether they're business owners, so forth. But I'm coaching women of influence and student athletes to maximize their wellness. And so I'm really serious about wellness. And it's, I wouldn't really just say it's because of being a student athlete. I would just say a lot of the pitfalls, a lot of the ugly things that have happened in my life. I look at wellness as multiple, encompassing multiple things, right? So like 5 pillars. I look at the mindset, see if I can remember, the mindset, nutrition, relationship, purpose, and movement. And these are the foundational pieces that I believe in that are a part of wellness.
So tell us about the pitfalls. So you mentioned you have pitfalls that brought you over here. So, you know, nobody wants a coach who hasn't gone through some things, because we need you to understand where we've been. Have you been there?
I've been a couple different places. So when you say, what about the pitfalls? I'm like, which story? But I will tell you that the transition that got me to coaching had to do with me I was busy, doing good, but not necessarily what God would want me to do, okay? And I was doing those many good activities, so busy, the essence of me was buried under that, right? Scattered, burnt out, overwhelmed, basically living a toxic lifestyle where the consequences, infection in my body, alopecia was forming, but nobody really could tell because I have a lot of fashionable hairstyles.
The hair person, you'll shave your head one day, one side, the other side.
But that was alopecia, right? And so I had infection. I said burnt out. There was definitely some depression going on. I had surgery. I had 3 different surgeries in 3 months, 3 consecutive months. So in that time where I had to sit down, I literally would try, and my mom would say, just be still. And I didn't understand that. In that time, I definitely, praise God, learned the power of stillness. There's a devotional I like to read, and I remember reading about rest, and rest as releasing every sabotaging thought. So when I think about rest, the importance of listening and the importance of confidence, and that's a process, right? The process of me having confidence in God and confidence in what he's saying to me and confidence to execute. That's a process. Yeah. And I had to change my thinking. I had to change my lifestyle. And I am so glad that he sat me down like that. I'm so glad.
So how long were you in that space where you were listening and learning? Because he had to sit you down because you wouldn't sit down on your own. How long?
I didn't know how. I didn't know you're supposed to. How long? I would say it was like 2012 to about 2000. It was a while, maybe 2-3 years. But I do remember I definitely got some marching orders. You go through a process of, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do, right? But then there's a process of getting rid of the I want to say the toxic thoughts, right? That are normal or familiar. So you're like, this is what I do, but I really wrestled and had to understand. And he started to show me, do this, release that, release these people, places, and things, go back to school. And so I went to IIN, which is a nutrition program, and great stuff that I got to use on me first. So yeah.
So tell me about the nutrition.
Okay, so one of the things I love is to teach just about foundations, basics. Whether we're talking about food combinations, how carbohydrates and proteins or different type of proteins, just how your plate basically should look, right? Also water. I mean, very basic stuff that a lot of people I know, I didn't know this growing up. My students, they don't necessarily know. And I get to teach it in my science classes, whether it be, whether it be health and the health and wellness class that I have, or the living environment class that I have. We talk about body systems and things like that. So for me, I like to teach the basics. I like to not just teach it, but I want to grow with you, because it's not like, I'm going to give this all to you. Nutritionists are great at what they do. They give you detail. But for me, I want to walk with you. I want to walk it through with you, give encouragement, get that one win in so then we can go on for another win.
All right. So tell us a little more about your business.
Okay, so my business that I work with a superwoman who is struggling with burnout to take back the wellness and vitality. Okay, so Champ Restoration is the name of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on champrestoration.com. And I have a podcast called The Restored Tribe, where the first season you just really hear about where I'm coming from, the basics of my story, the basics of what I feel that is important with nutrition. Then the second season gets into more relationships and interviews. So you have that there to listen to with Champ Restoration.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a program that I'm finalizing to walk with individuals, to help them, like I said, take back wellness and vitality. And we're talking about all the pillars of wellness as I see it. And the program's called Vitality, with my signature system,
Okay.
Detox Your Mind.
Detox your mind. Okay. So what does wellness mean to you? I know you just
wellness. Okay, I love that question. Wellness to me has not to do with that one does not have illness. It is more about being aware,
mm-hmm.
living a life that's fulfilling and purposeful. So that is wellness. So for me, it won't do to help someone just lose physical weight. I want you to lose that unproductive, mental garbage, or that unproductive spiritual weight.
And you can't do anything unless you reset your mind. Without the proper mindset, you can't do anything.
Right.
So that is necessary. And so I'm laughing because I watched you start your journey in school with your nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you had you were teaching people how to eat better, teaching people how to live better, how to move.
Mm-hmm.
And you always intertwine that with your spiritual life.
Absolutely.
As well, because that's part of who you are.
Absolutely.
And so are you guys still in the park?
It's funny you said that. Are we still in the park? Actually, I'm going to go ahead and there's a program coming up called Elevate, which is a spiritual and physical fitness program. It's 30-day. It's really just gathering folks. We will be in the park. And, during this COVID time, during this quarantine time, people can go to their own park and we can still meet virtually and still, meet and have our power circle. But one of the things that I forgot to say, all that doing and all that being busy,
mm-hmm.
that was a reaction. So the things that I were doing, I care about. I love teaching. Mm-hmm. I love seeing people transform. I love me transforming even more. Mm-hmm. But it was a reaction that being busy was a reaction of a really toxic relationship. And so I wanted to add that part because it didn't come out of thin air. God used everything. Yeah. All things work together, right? Yeah. So I'm just so grateful for that. And I know that different people are reacting from different things that's going on in their life, whatever it may be.
Let's talk about that relationship. Some people need to hear it. As far as you want to go, like you said, it came from a toxic relationship.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You could be in a toxic environment. Like my hair started falling out in a toxic work environment.
That's it. I was just about to say, right? Toxic relationship knows no bounds. It doesn't have to be, it could be a friendship. It could be a toxic romantic relationship,
Mhm.
toxic family, encounters, I didn't always have the best relationship with, my father. And by the grace of God, I mean, God has really been doing so many amazing things in my life, but he will do that for others. But for me, it's really, how do you rest, right? How do you release those sabotaging thoughts, those every sabotaging thoughts? How do you learn how to listen to God? How do you become aware of what you're thinking? Those are the tools that are really important to be able to identify, hey, this is a toxic work environment. Hey, this friend, this was a season that had been passed, and I need to recognize, I need to move forward. And all those things. So for me, yes, it was a toxic romantic relationship, but honestly, it had to do with the toxic relationship with myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just what it was. We can go ahead and talk about that, but really, what was it with me?
Yeah.
So, that's why those releasing sabotaging thoughts, I had to be aware of how I was viewing myself. Why was I not, let's just say, dating myself? Why was I not putting myself first?
Mhm.
Why was I so busy? Yes, it was good work,
Yeah.
but what about stewarding my body?
Yeah.
And I suppose that a lot of women, a lot of men too, are listening. They may have so many responsibilities, but you have to steward yourself.
Yes. Self-love. And
Self-love, because
yeah.
you're worth it. And actually, the Elevate program that's happening, that's starting in May 3rd, the anchoring meditation scripture is 1 Corinthians 6:9-20. And it reads, or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have from God? And are you not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. So how do you do that? And that's just something that we kind of walk through practically.
And take care of yourself first.
Exactly.
You can't take care of anybody else. As you know, they always say, when you're on an airplane, if the plane is going down, put your mask on first so that you can help someone else.
Mm-hmm.
If you're all gasping for air, how does that work?
Right.
So you got to take care of yourself first, and the temple. And so if we all would take care of our temple, we'd be in a better place as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to get on during this 30 days? Elevate. What are we going to do? What's going to happen?
So it's first of all, it's minimal entry, but what you're going to get, you're going to be able to identify toxic thinking. You're going to be able to push past some of that with strategy. You're going to have a healthy community. And I say that is super important, because if you're ready to move forward, you're ready to pivot.
Yep.
And you say, but my sisters aren't, but my family isn't. That's fine. You move out first. And so you get to move out with similar people who are having that same thought process. And it may not be everyone else to move with me, but I'm making a decision. And literally, that is one thing that I have really encountered that has helped me. It's just to keep making firm decisions, one decision at a time, to be a full participant in my own rescue. So that firm decision.
I love that. Be a full participant in my own rescue. Nobody's coming.
Right. Nobody's coming but you.
And you're filled with God. So you have all the tools that you need.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know, right? Like I was just dormant, right? I didn't know. And I was playing church. I would go, check, went to church. I'm sitting there doing things, but was there true intimacy? And that's another thing that I pray that people who come on this Elevate challenge, community challenge, really learn how to start nurturing their relationship, intimacy with God, as well as a consistent physical regimen. Nothing hard. It's entry level for all abilities. All bodies are welcome. And so it's basically a prayer walk. It's a prayer walk for 30 days. And so when you're done with that, I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to feel good, you're going to want more, and I've got more.
All right. That is awesome. And you're right. You have to have your own relationship, a real relationship. And so there's a lot of us that we just, there's I call it a couple things. There's the magic God that you think they sprinkle a little magic. Then there's the lottery God, when your number comes up kind of thing. But when you have a relationship, you know that there's more, and you know that there's a prompting that comes with that relationship, that, like you said, one step at a time, but the step is being guided, your steps are being ordered. You can have a path that is set for you if you listen.
If you listen.
And
in Christ, you're winning all the time. You may not feel like it though, but you are.
And move, because a lot of us hear it and you don't move. And if you don't move, you're really not stagnant. You're moving backwards, because everything else is still marching on. Time is marching forward. So the question is, do you want to move forward? Are you walking in your purpose with passion? Like you said, you were doing all of those things before. But was it the purpose with passion? Was everything in line the way that it was designed to be? It was waiting for you, but you were doing this, you were doing that, helping this person and that person. But once you sat down and listened and took time for yourself, and I'm thinking about COVID. So we're a year in some change in. This was the time to listen.
This was a time, and it still is a time. You know, if you are listening to this, you are just incredibly blessed to be here. If you want to build a relationship with Christ, if you want to just find out who is this Jesus, if you want to just steward who you are, so you got a relationship, but you really want to start to grow, my program, that comes later, right? This community program coming up, this is kind of like, entry level, everybody come and have a good time. But this is the time to really capitalize, maximize on this time period. Now I know when I'm saying that, people are still working, and some people who aren't working will work soon. But in the midst of finding a job, in the midst of looking, why not get even more intimate to hear from God yourself?
It's an awesome time to get started on whatever it is that you need to do. It's an awesome time to reflect and just renew. Like, I'm working from home, so I didn't have to travel. I use that time to walk in the morning with others. But I'm noticing nature. I live in the woods, but I'm noticing things that I've never seen before. They've always been there. Obviously, they've always been there, but I have taken the time to actually pay attention. I'm taking pictures. I'm like, look, I've been a country girl. What is going on here? My focus is different.
That's it.
My focus has been to be aware, mindfulness, thoughtfulness, and then to allow it to make the transformation that I need to make by listening and hearing what is for me, the prompting of the Spirit for me. He's not going to say the same thing to you, because it's for me. I'm a unique person, a unique being. And so when you start to do that, following where you belong, the steps that you're supposed to take, it kind of lines up pretty easy. I didn't have to do the work. All I had to do was listen and then follow through. And do it afraid. So that's one of my other things. So I have 5 keys to manifesting your dreams. And this is called Dream Aloud with Kendra, because the desires of our hearts, God is giving us those desires. Because if you read the scripture, it says God will give you the desires of your heart, right? But so people think of, I want this thing and he will give it to me. But look at it a different way. It says the desires that are in my heart are God given. So he already knows what's in my heart because it was God given, because it lines up with my passion.
And
it lines up with my purpose.
mm-hmm.
And when that happens, I always ask people, who are you at your core? Independent of who you are to other people, your
Right.
relationships, mother, sister, daughter, friend.
Independent of that.
I also ask, who are you at your core, independently of what you do? Mm-hmm. At your core, who are you? And what were you sent here to do? What's your assignment? That's what purpose is. What is your assignment? And if you're on task with and on assignment and you know that, then you do it. You walk it out with passion because it makes your heart sing. I know when I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because it makes my heart sing. Mm-hmm. It just makes you, the only way I can explain it is it makes your heart sing, and you'll know it when it happens. Mm-hmm. And so when I've been watching you, you started with, let's make some salad. But
the salads.
You were in the salads and you were in the park and you were doing all of those things. I knew it was making your heart sing.
Oh yeah. But you gotta be careful. I have to be careful. I want to bring it back to purpose. Yes, mm-hmm. Making sure that the desire of my heart is his perfect will. When you love him and you really want to go after the things of God, then what starts to be in your heart is what's in his heart. You want to have that, you want that. But the thing is, you can have all these desires and passions, but if you're not treating yourself well, then not having the physical ability, the mental space to be able to pursue it, to be able to complete it. Mm-hmm. So another big thing for me is, yes, execute, but complete. So when I think about the restored leader, I think about it's a well-rested woman who believes and listens and follows through, right? Follows through. She finishes what she starts. Yeah. And so we can have passion, we can have excitement, but if we can't follow through, if we don't have the not just the mental focus, but the mindset to finish, if we don't have the stamina to finish, mm-hmm. to endure, then what are we doing?
Right. But I also feel like there are people who are married to things that are not their passion or not their purpose, and you need to be able to let that go. Like you said, we need to be able to let all those other things go so that you can do what you are supposed to do and do it with purpose, in passion. And so some people are just so stuck there, and it's okay when you make that pivot and you find out, okay, this is not what I was supposed to be doing, or this is not what I should be doing, or you should be able to make that change independent of what everybody else thinks. But if you've heard, mm-hmm. if you've heard the instructions, if you've heard what needs to be done, and that means pivot or change your mind, repent, change your mind, whatever it is that you need to do, sometimes you have to make that change. So don't be married to, I'm a finish and make it to the end, and that wasn't your path. So
I'm going to ask you a question. Why do you think that people, independent of people who are just gung-ho about doing things that they're not supposed mm-hmm. to, right? Why do you think if people have a knowing, if they're pressing on their heart to do something that they're not doing, why do you think they do not move out on it?
Fear. Mm-hmm. I think it's fear. Mm-hmm. And that's my other thing. Fear is always going to be with you, but the word says to be courageous. Mm-hmm. And, so you have to move anyway. And I think people allow fear to hold them back. I know I did. And I know I do. Now I'm one of those, I'm gonna do it afraid. I'm gonna keep moving whether I'm afraid or not, because I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'll move forward. And I always feel like whenever I'm afraid, I think about what is the worst thing that can happen if I do this. And then I remember all the times that I was afraid to do something else. And when I finally did it, and I get to the other side, because my whole thing is, it's okay to be afraid, but go through. The minute that I go through to the other side, I look back and go, why was I so afraid? It's wonderful on this side. And it wasn't that bad. What I went through. So the fear was there to stop me. And either I can be a prisoner of fear, or I can go for my freedom by running through, even with the fear. I'm gonna do it afraid, knees shaking, voice quivering, whatever it takes, then I'm gonna go ahead and do it when I know I've been called to do it.
When you know you've been called. And the other thing for me, you said fear, and this is, I guess, is a part of fear, the perfectionism.
Yeah.
Wanting to do it, will it's, come on.
When you go with for perfection, and I don't believe perfection exists, not on this side of eternity. And so I call it the perfection paralysis. And I am one of those people that says, oh, it's not ready yet. I'm still getting ready. I'm still getting ready. But when you do that, it's just a prisoner. It makes you a prisoner and you don't get it done. And it is fear.
When I think about that, the overthinking and the perfectionism, I mean, you've got software. Come on, tech person. You got software that has a 1.0 version, 2.0 to 3.0. It gets better. There's a progression. So to start out, that can be an adventure, going back to the adventurous side, right? That could be an adventure, and it is. And it's an adventure to reflect and see what can be improved. So the improvement game versus the perfection game is always going to be a better situation, because there's joy. And for me, just thinking about athletics, so there used to be PRs, right? Personal records. You know how exciting it is to get a PR? And then, and then maybe your coach sits there and you talk about every part of the race, every part of the competition, and you reflect. And then that, when you get back out there again, that 3.0, that 4.0, you've had the reflection. So that you when you launch or relaunch, it's fun.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
And if, like you said, if you really look at it, is there any perfection?
Not with us.
Not here. So like you have a personal best, like you said, a PR. So your personal record, that's what all you should be working against, your own personal record.
Right.
And you made the software reference.
Yes.
So people think that technology is perfect. It is not. So when you have a computer and it says that it's a certain speed, that speed is not exact. It's roundabout.
Come on, tech person.
When they tell you about, your connection, your internet connection,
right?
It's not exactly that. It's roundabout. But you never know the difference. And then they give you 1.0. You think it's great. Then 2.0 comes out and you're like, oh. And we found a bug. Now people are all upset, but we expected the bug and we know how to fix it. So we're just working through it. And so that's why I love that example. People really should just do it afraid. You can't get better unless you get started.
I like that.
You just can't. You just can't. So anything else you want to tell the listeners?
I would just say, on the other side of, putting yourself first, tending to yourself and being a full participant in your own rescue. And the other side of that, obviously it's better, but you do have to just invest in yourself. I'm a big proponent of investing in yourself. So I love to learn. I have a coach, and I think it's silly to coach and to provide strategy if you're not being, if you're not being fueled, and I'm being fueled in different ways, but the same goal. So I would say invest in yourself, whether it's with people that you see on this wonderful podcast, whether it be, checking out Champ Restoration, whoever it's with, invest in yourself so that you can go ahead and get that 5.0 to 6.0 version.
You always want to, I'm a project manager too, so I'm a technology project manager. So I'm always interested in continuous improvement. If you're not improving, you're moving backwards. And so, like you said, we're coaches. So you don't want to coach and not have a coach.
Right.
Silly. So who wants a coach who doesn't have a coach?
Right.
Because then they're not improving. So we want people to invest in themselves, and we invest in ourselves.
And I also want to say, celebrate yourself. That's huge. Invest in yourself and celebrate every part of the journey. That makes it fun.
Yes. And the rescue. I'm in love with this rescue part. Participate in your own rescue.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I definitely, one of my mentors says that. She says, you got to be a full participant. And I'm saying you're full participant of your own rescue. And I do believe the rescuer is God, but you have to meet him. You have to start. You have to make a decision to move forward. And then he'll give you all these things to do. Again, in my case, we're talking about building the mind, moving, nutrition, getting those basics, getting the basics of relationship with yourself so you're not making these terrible decisions, right? And then the purpose, understanding your career may be a part of your purpose, but it may not be at all. So invest in yourself so that you can have these foundations of wellness.
Yeah. You have to. Yeah. So I ask all of my guests, what is your favorite quote?
I have a couple, but one for this season stands out. It's Dr. Maya Angelou. It's, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty."
So I love Mother Maya, right? I just love her. And then so you're talking about the butterfly. So it becomes a caterpillar and it goes in the cocoon. That's all the changes, all the pivots, the dare to pivot.
Mm.
You got to make those changes if you want to be the butterfly.
And get some help. Get some help along the way. And help someone else along the way as well. In whatever way.
Absolutely. But that's why we're here.
Yes, that's why we're here.
You're here to live your life and to do what you were supposed to do. But there's a certain amount of people in your sphere of influence that are watching you. You're assigned to them and they're assigned to you. They're watching you so that they can make their lives better. And you're supposed to leave the world a better place by being uniquely you.
Come on.
Uniquely you. The world needs the unique you. We don't need any more copies. We don't need any of that. But you can't hear that and you can't do that unless you, like you said, you spend the time working on you.
Learn how to rest.
Elevating yourself.
Learn how to listen.
Absolutely. So I love that quote. And then I also ask, on whose shoulders do you stand? Because you definitely can't do this alone. You didn't come here alone and you didn't get here by yourself.
I have incredible parents. I do. And I want to say them. I have seen their journey as they matured, even as adults. I've seen the growth, and it's a beautiful gift to see that. My great grandmother and my paternal grandmother, and I would say my great grandmother, immigrant from St. Kitts and Nevis. She worked as a maid not too far from where I live, and she thought enough of me that when she passed on a couple months before she passed, that she had a little something for me, and sent. And I just thought that was incredible, just from the work that she did. She didn't have a lot of money, and sent back home for her brothers to come to the U.S. And then my paternal grandmother, she's the definition of sweet, and real, and would tell me so many things during my teenage years that no other adult was really talking as transparently until, I met some fantastic women at my later age. But yeah, she definitely is just such a beautiful person and really helped me out in a lot of ways. So I would say my incredible parents, my great grandmother, and my paternal grandmother. Yep.
And so I asked that question because it's an example of how we leave our legacy and our lessons with those who are watching us. So I encourage people to go after their dreams, live out loud and in color, and follow your passion, because when you're doing that, only you can do that in your way. So you may be doing the same things. You're a coach, I'm a coach. We do different things, but the same, so your influence is different than mine. And so that's why my gift is to encourage and to inspire and to tell stories, to tell the stories of others. That's why I'm here. My griot story is the lessons and legacy that we leave. And I really love the African American story, the African diaspora story, because of the strength and the resilience and all of that that's wrapped up in us. There's so much greatness, and I want to see everyone flourish. And so we do this segment just to make sure that everybody realizes that there's greatness around us. And so when I pick my phenomenal women, I pick them because they literally have stepped out and dared to pivot. And so I was like, I have to get Sherry on here. She needs to tell a story. She needs to tell everybody the wonderful things that she's doing. So tell us how we can reach you again.
Okay, the website, champrestoration.com, on Twitter and Instagram, Sherry in Truth, that's SHERRY, in Truth. And yeah, you'll find me there. I have a podcast. Like I said, you'll have a link to the podcast right when you get on Champ Restoration, short for champion, champrestoration.com. You'll have access to that podcast right there. Enjoy. I have a community effort coming up May 3rd. But what will follow would be a paid coaching program afterwards. I also have all kinds of solutions. Like I said, for, physical body, the mindset, the spirit. But yeah, so just get connected if this resonates. And then we will definitely connect. So I just thank you for your visit in advance to the website or to the social media handles.
And tell them one more time about the 30-day challenge, Elevate.
Okay, so community challenge starting May 3rd. And
we can go online. So you can
know what? I'm going to say this.
In your backyard. You can be in the park. You can be in the park in your backyard, but it's all online if you're not in that area, right?
Absolutely. The restored tribe at gmail.com. I forgot to say that. If you're interested, send me an email, the restored tribe at gmail.com. Send a comment right below.
That's right. That's
on the social media. Comment.
And she'll respond to you.
Absolutely.
So I know you said you had something else. That was it? Just to make sure they know your Gmail account?
Yep. Gmail, website, social media handle. And I will post some, a link to join the email list. I will do that.
Okay. So we have a little delay on the phone because it's going a little slow. I can see everybody on, but I don't see any questions. Are there any questions before we sign off? But everybody knows that they can always just send in their questions and we'll go back and answer them later. because I don't see anything. I see Tanya and Cynthia, Patricia and Taja and Tamika. They're all watching. So Vincent on there earlier. So they're watching. So if you have any questions, you can definitely put something in the comments and she will comment back to you or give you the answers that you're looking for. So with that, I thank you for joining me. It was a pleasure having you. I'm just happy to see the growth and the continued moving from glory to glory, level to level, just moving on. And so it's just so important to see that, to see friends moving forward. I love, 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 love you. And I'm so glad that you could join me. And I don't do these as much as I used to, because I want the interviews to sit and people to not have to look through all of the interviews. I want them to be able to sit and watch them and get what they need out of it. Yeah. And so it's been a pleasure having you here. And I'm so glad that you could join us, and we'll be watching you on champrestoration.com. And you're on Instagram.
Sherry in Truth, SHERRY in Truth. And also on Facebook, look up Sherry C. White.
Okay. They will do that. All right. Okay, so I don't see any questions. So if they have any, we'll check them and we will answer in the comments. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you for listening to Dream Aloud with Kendra. If you like the show, leave a review and tell a friend. I also invite you to join our Dream Aloud Facebook group, where we encourage and challenge our members to step outside of their comfort zone and live limitless lives. I guarantee you will experience true fulfillment when you live, work, and play your way.